Why, hello, all of you out there. I am so happy that we could be on YouTube land together, live streaming for the first time. I am excited to have my beautiful guest, Jenna Matlin, here with me today, waving hi to everybody. And I sent out a little call out on my Facebook a little bit earlier, so I hope that a few people join us. We may get a question or two. If not, we're going to just have a fun time today. So, welcome, Jenna. Welcome to channeling.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gwen. And hello to everyone who's live or going to tune in later. I'm so glad you're here with us today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Whether you're live or whether you tune in later, all of this is going to be just as applicable. The energy continues. That's what's so great about creating these experiences, is they're little seeds that you can gain from at any moment in time in your life. And so that's our prayer for you, is that something here is going to spark something within you, give you something that will edify you in your day. And that's really what Jenna does, with her and what she does. Jenna is a medium, a psychic medium, and she does tarot. And she has written a beautiful book about learning how to read tarot and how we can offer our true gift to people as we do so. Jenna, do you want to talk quickly about the development of that book and how that occurred and what you feel it offers to people when they read it?
Yeah, thank you. So this book that I wrote called "Will You Give Me a Reading" is not your average tarot book where it's like, here's this card and here's what it means, here's your keywords. It's really about how to be the best reader you can be for others, holding space for others, and also really diving more deeply into the psychic techniques that make for good readers, channelers, mediums, anyone who opens up that energy to the source. So often people aren't confident, or they try to read tarot in a more formulaic fashion, rather than really trusting the intuitive part that comes forward. So that's kind of what my book is all about, including like, what do you do when a reading goes south? What do you do if you're reading for someone and they say, oh, that's all wrong? Like, what's really going on here? So I wrote it because there were very few books that really went into intermediate and advanced techniques for sessions. And I've been a full-time reader since 2012. And I felt I had a lot to offer, both the tarot community or any community where we are bridging the many worlds. Yes. To heal and to support and to encourage, as you were saying earlier, the medicines for us on this planet. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
Yeah, so beautiful. I love that. For me, something so dear in my heart is empowering people to bring out their unique gifts, identify what they have to offer. And each one of us, I feel we come and we're a little bit different. We have unique mechanisms. We have unique gifts. We have unique design. And we each, as we open up, have unique ways that we interpret, ways that we see, ways that different thought patterns or different ways that we can think about things, and different ways we express. And so as we do these things together, we edify each other, because it's like we're getting a new spicy taste of that carrot cake. This one has nuts in it, and this one has, cardamom in there too, or something, like it's a beautiful thing. And as we learn to express all that we are, I think we offer each other the spice of life. That's the way I look at it, rather than us being dull and the same and holding ourselves in, a small box. We all kind of open up and we see the diversity, the expansiveness, the excitement, the thrill of what life can be, the different opportunities. So to me, when I jumped into really opening myself and channeling for the first time, it blew me away. And I couldn't imagine closing that off. It's like cutting, it's like telling myself, oh, I'm going to cut off my arm or cut off my leg. It's like, no, 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 no. I've discovered more of what I am here. And, why not celebrate it? Why not celebrate it? And so have you ever come across people who maybe were afraid of your gifts when you started developing and you started using them?
Yeah, well, I'm, a common question that people ask me is, when did I realize I was intuitive or psychic? And that's actually the wrong question. The right question is, when did I realize that everyone wasn't like me? Because I thought everyone was like me. I thought everyone could get information about people. And that's just how we all were, until I was like, wait, so when you see that person, you're not getting other information about them? Really? Like, it's just like flat, like just a painting. Like, so to me, it was like that. But to your point, whether it comes very naturally, very strongly in the beginning, or it's something you develop later, oh yeah, there's like all these different camps that tell you that you're delusional or you're wrong or you're whatever. And it's really unfortunate, because a lot of people who are sensitive put their abilities away because they're afraid of that judgment. And I think that's it's just so sad. And I feel like you have to have a certain kind of inner belief or inner confidence to not listen to that.
Yeah.
Because it comes from like really two camps right now, which is, maybe a religious perspective that's like, you're not allowed to do that or whatever. And then you also have the scientific perspective, which is none of that is real. And you have to somehow navigate your truth between these other things. But when we look at indigenous cultures, when we look at classic culture, the gift of prophecy, the gift of channeling, the gift of intuition was celebrated and revered for a very, very long time. So I'm not willing to say that humanity for millennia upon millennia, we're all just mass delusional until religion and science came aboard. Like, that's just, this time now is the exception rather than the long rule of human history on this planet.
Yeah. Wow. Well, coming from someone who grew up recognizing their gifts, I think that's amazing. I think it's taken me a long time, and I'm still opening within mine, still discovering much of what I am. But it's such a gratifying thing, because when I kind of feeling the difference between the two, it's just overwhelmingly obvious. I'd had a sense of, it's like, not all of me made it over here onto Earth, like it was just like, where am I? Why do I feel so, like where's my power? I feel so useless, and all these kinds of feelings that come with that feeling of separation and being cut off, and being able to open and choose. It's like, this is my choice. I am welcoming myself back home. No matter what, I am choosing this. It doesn't matter what anyone else believes, because my heartache is for me welcoming all of myself back home within myself. That's where the heartache was coming from, was not allowing myself to recognize that and saying, no matter what, this is what my determination is. This is what I'm here to do. Right. And so this is like a real kind of almost a quest in some ways for me, is really, not being, when someone says, oh, what you're doing, what you're exploring there is dangerous. I'm like, well, awesome. It shows you the dedication of what I'm doing. And I know I'm the light. I know that whatever I come across, that in essence, none are lost. We all, in our dedication, come back to our wholeness. And I'm here to do that. I'm here to bring myself into my wholeness.
Mhm.
And I think it's really beautiful that tarot can be used in that way of marking and identifying maybe where we're on in the where we're at on our journey,
Yeah.
what what themes we're playing out, what
Mhm.
archetypes are moving through us in our stories, and kind of can give us a little bit broader perspective rather than just thinking of me, I in a small perspective. What
Yes.
what is your take on that? Have you found that also, or what's your view on that?
Oh gosh. Gosh, you said so much. And I was like, oh yes, I hold on, at this point, that point. I think a lot of people don't get proficient enough in tarot to understand how tarot sings. And
Mm-hmm.
based on that, they tend to limit what tarot can do. And I talk about
Mm-hmm.
that in the book. So I'll give you like a quick example. Like,
Yes.
um, so past life readings, right, are
Mm-hmm.
common. People are
Mm-hmm.
like, what was my past lives like? But tarot also can tell the future. So why can't we do a reading on a future life, the future life you're going to have, or the future life that's actually happening right now, if you have a cyclical understanding of time?
Yes.
And so this idea that we are only limited with tarot by our own imaginations and cultural perceptions.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, to the many parts coming to the whole that you talked about, I really read tarot. I'm still trying to find the best words to explain the phenomenon, but I kind of say holographically, where in a reading, I will see your different parts
Mm-hmm.
showing up, the little parts, like you said, and then the big parts, and how they're interacting with one another, how they're influencing one another in a reading. So if someone comes to, people typically come to tarot and be like, like I had a breakup and I just want to know, like, am I ever going to get married or whatever, like a common question.
Mm-hmm.
The reading can often show me them and all of those parts that are kind of coming to the trailhead to ask that question and what each of those parts need. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, there's the spiritual component of the overlay of the grand archetypes and the guides and the spiritual beings that often are embodied in the cards, that it's easier to discern after you really kind of throw out the rule book in many ways
Mm-hmm.
and see how it speaks to you. So I love doing that work. I love witnessing it. And the cool thing about tarot is when I'm with someone, they can see it too. So I can be like, it's not just my opinion. Like literally, I'm you seeing in the cards what is arising, and then all I'm doing is just interpreting. So like a channeler, a tarot reader, it's like I'm the tarot reader, but I'm not the writer of this message. All I am is a faithful interpreter, and I
Yes.
try to interpret and relay as honestly as I can.
Mm-hmm.
That's not always easy sometimes, because sometimes those messages are hard for the ego to take. But the more I get my own self out of it, and maybe like my fear or my reaction or whatever it is, to be as faithful to just translating the message as possible, that's where I want to stand in the light with the practice that I do and the service that I give to the world.
That's beautiful. As you're speaking, I was imagining myself sitting in front of you
Yeah.
and um and coming in and being imagine myself as someone coming in for a reading and maybe not having the inquiry at the depth that you might pull up the card reading at.
Mm-hmm.
In other
Yeah.
words, that your interpretation might go way deeper than I ever thought, you
Yeah.
know, maybe citing wounds that that are connected to many repeating cycles, many
Mm-hmm.
times, many lifetimes of experience, so on and so
Mm-hmm.
forth. And if I'm not ready to hear that, then maybe I might be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I just want my juicy candy and I want my lollipop. And, like, I want to know if so and so has enough affection for me that I
Mhm.
can feel secure, you know? And all these things, of course, as a human, we want to know, ultimately, we want to feel secure. We want to feel whole. We want to feel happy. But I mean, there are different levels that we can find our satiation at.
Mhm.
And I think it's really interesting. Have you had that experience
Oh
where
my
someone's
God.
come in and you're
Yeah.
like, I can read and feel that you're kind of at this level, but I'm seeing way deep here and
Right.
offering you something amazing, but
Right.
they're not there.
Oh my God, I have so much to say because you earlier you talked about, oh, it's my juicy candy, and it's so funny you mentioned that because I call those fast food readings. That
Mm,
the readings are to ameliorate an anxiety or a worry or to give you hope, but it feels good in the moment, but it may not be like really about like the long-term evolution of you
yeah,
versus the nutritive. So yeah, people often come in for the first, but the latter often occurs. And to your second point, I'm very careful to try to meet people where they're at. And this is why in sessions, people may go, just tell me whatever comes up.
yeah,
That's dangerous for me because I don't yet know where the consciousness is.
yeah,
And so I could start it up here and be like, oh my God, the archetypes, like you're blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, yeah, but am I going to get a job? So for
yeah,
me, it's about what are your questions? And it's not because I'm trying to get intel. It's helping me to determine what we're ready for and what the universe can share that you can accept.
yeah.
And making sure I'm not losing that person in the process because um, the source will just say what it wants to say often without like, oh, that's going to trigger her and she's going to shut down, like, so that becomes part of it, which is how do I guide the experience so that whoever is there they're met where they're at, they're seen, they're walked with, they're heard,
Hmm.
and also they can understand the information. And it's not always, sometimes even the universe is like, no, we're not making this easy for this person. And then for me as a reader, I have to be like, all right, like I know that you're going to walk out of here feeling like I maybe didn't help or like you're frustrated, but
Yeah.
that I have to release that because that's not really like
It's not your
I
job.
wasn't in control of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like, okay, I know that this is not what you're going to want to hear, and I know this is going to be hard, but I'm telling you, this is really important and you need to sit with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you make some really good points that
Yeah.
it makes it tricky to be
Yeah.
an interpreter for sure.
Well, I think that's really a beautiful thing to be aware of when you enter into tarot reading. A lot of people, they're like, I want to help people. I want to help people. I want to help people. But there gets to be a foundational real balance,
Mm-hmm.
and a foundation where you say, yeah, I'm here as a supportive energy for people.
Yeah.
But my job isn't to make you happy. My job isn't to tell you what you want to hear. My job is simply to convey earnestly and in the most loving manner that I can the information that's flowing through me.
Mm-hmm.
And I pray it will be of support to you, but it's up to you and your attitude and your consciousness where you're at, what you're going to do with it, what you're going to take, what you're ready for.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, I think, an important thing for people to really be with, because sometimes we just want to be helpers. And if we get caught up in what someone's going to do with the information that we share with them, then it can get pretty heavy, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I really try to check my own. I just want to be a rescuer, helper, because often, especially if you're a woman, we were socialized for that role,
Yeah,
and then that kind of brings that codependent energy, that kind of brings an ego. So it's so complex.
it is.
And you have to really always monitor yourself and go, did I lean into some areas of myself because it feels really good that is not in the best alignment here? Like you have to be really honest with yourself, because there are people out there that just love the ego trip of telling people how to fix their lives and what to do, but then their lives are a mess, like, so I try to stay really as far away from that as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes when a reading is like, I don't know, I'm not getting the answer.
Yeah.
Or they want a level of detail that is not being provided.
Yeah.
We'll get to like 60% detail and then they want more. And I'm like, I'm not seeing it. And that doesn't mean it's not there. I'm just not going to let your anxiety push me into speculation or to force what the universe isn't ready to reveal. So it's a very complicated,
It is.
to be that person.
That is really interesting, and I love how you put it that way, because what the universe isn't ready to reveal, and I feel sometimes we're all kind of in a unique dances, like I spoke of before with you, and some of us are more in a dance of us really determining how to be our creative selves. How we're making decision, learning how to step fully into that, learning what that creative power is. Or we're in another process, as far as our own self-education, is concerned. And sometimes things aren't ready to be revealed. Sometimes part of it is that we're in the middle of creating it, and other things are involved in it. And so I think as someone going to get a tarot reading, something that we can check within ourselves is, are we wanting someone else? Are we thinking this tarot reader is going to take responsibility for my life? Are they going to have all the answers for me? If we're looking to them to have all the answers so that we aren't in our responsible sovereign self, then there's going to be an issue. There's going to be an issue because we eventually need to come into our own.
Right.
It's more in a way of, gosh, I'm having some clouds here and I would really love to see some guidance. Maybe my eyes aren't seeing clearly. Can you help me with this, that kind of thing? Then this becomes more of a collaborative honoring rather than, that, once again, that dependency cycle that we can feel. And so I think it's really a kind of a new way of really owning these kinds of readings in this new earth, is really stepping into our sovereignty and knowing, yes, we're here to support and assist each other, but let's bring this into still a sovereign space, us honoring, like, we are infinite, deep beings here having a human experience. And we're just here trying to support and help each other, and offer maybe some insight as to how we can learn, how we're growing, and all of that. I know I've said a lot, but I wanted to jump into this, and if you want to offer, a couple of areas that you cover in your book, that's great. But then I just wanted to jump into some play, because it's playtime.
A couple areas in my book. Well, what do people, so there's a chapter I wrote called Being the Reader That They Need. So this idea that, again, we want to meet them at where they are. So even if they're like, I just need to know if he's coming back or whatever, and I don't care about the rest of that, I'm still going to welcome that person to the space.
Yeah.
Because you never know what they're going to actually take in, or what will hit them much later down the road.
Yeah.
And so, but it's not even the anxiety that I think is so much the issue, but maybe the entitlement of our modern culture, that we see tarot or any of these other gifts as kind of like an analog Google, so what I tell my clients is, like, the only thing we're entitled to is to ask the question, but how we receive that answer is not up to us. And it's a funny thing, because when you look back at like the Oracle Delphi, classical Greece, people would trudge up the mountain to the oracle and be like, please, oracle, please, like, will I win this battle, you know? And then she'll breathe the smoke, and then she'll give you a riddle, and you're like, what does that mean, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, thank you, oracle. And it will take you like weeks or months or years to unravel the riddle and figure it out.
Mhm.
And it's almost like the riddle is a time release capsule that you'll have figured it out when you needed it exactly then. But in
I
our
love
culture,
that.
yeah,
I love that. That's such a great metaphor,
yeah,
for walking. It's like it's a time release capsule, and it will open when you've walked enough on the journey and when it's just the perfect timing for you.
yes, yes. So to the point of like being the reader that you need is like is a reader they need, but is also playing the part of really witnessing that what their concerns and worries are important, and how can we attend to
Mhm.
that service as well.
Mhm.
Um, and it's a tough place because we're kind of sandwiched between two things that have their own goals: the source and then the client.
Mhm.
And then we
Mhm.
have to somehow finagle, like get it to kind of like we're interpreters trying to get it to work.
Mhm.
But I never want to come into a session where someone feels unimportant or minimized because it's the Jenna show, right? I want to feel like really like I'm here with you, and
Mm.
I'm walking with you, and I'm witnessing the pain and the suffering, because people often come to readings when they're suffering, like what, like all this bad stuff is happening in my life, like did I, and this is a common thing I hear from clients, like was I a terrible person in a past life? Is that why I'm suffering now? It's such
Mm.
a common misunderstanding of some New Age thought,
Yeah.
in that our subsequent lifespans are rewards or punishments for what we've done. And so therefore you've deserved everything that's happened to you. Boy, that's heavy.
Yeah. Oh, that's heavy. Yeah.
And untrue. Because in my mediumship work, it doesn't carry over. Like, at least I don't see that. And I
Yeah.
don't see punishment in the afterlife. It's more like you're not punished, you're healed. And then you make amends with the new insight and the vision that you have.
Mhm.
And so people come to tarot, though, because when we're suffering, we want to try to find a reason for it to make it more bearable.
Mm.
And so half that battle is just really recognizing that suffering
Yeah.
without immediately jumping to the solution always, because
Yeah.
that can also be very disempowering. Well, you should just blah, 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 you know?
Mhm.
And I'm like, but if we're not witnessing this piece that this soul and this body are in this moment, are we really hearing it? And just the
Mm.
act of doing that is so helpful and so healing for trauma, especially.
Mm. I love that. I honor that. I think that's so beautiful.
Thank
You
you.
know, the huge power of witnessing, the power of just being able to be with, and compassion.
Yeah.
Compassion isn't, I feel sorry for you. Compassion is, I honor you as a human and that we suffer and that we're all in this together, that we feel that separateness, that we feel, these ideas, and we we bring meaning to things that we don't have to. We make ourselves suffer when we don't have to.
Right.
But we're loving people who want to feel love in our hearts, and we're trying to figure it out, you
Yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm.
with all these circumstances and all these life experiences that we have. We're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
and to have that compassion and that witnessing, I think, is so powerful. So I honor that you, that's a foundation for you. And I'm so glad that you've really shared that in your book, because I feel it is a magic key in healing, being able to be with something and not thinking, oh, what do I have to do in order to fix it?
Yes.
Because naturally our energy and our consciousness, as we're feeling into the wholeness and we hold on to that pain, and or hold it in a beautiful way, that naturally magic occurs. Naturally, we want to come into our wholeness. Naturally, we expand into a larger insight. Naturally, it starts to open to us if we allow it, if we allow it to.
Mhm.
So I think that's so powerful. So I'm so grateful that you brought that through. And that's written down in a book for card readers to read.
And anyone, anyone who provides any kind of sessions like this book will help. It's not just tarot, but it has the focus because that's been my background. My friends are like, this is just a book about how to be a good person. And I was like, oh, that's nice. That's nice
How to be a better person. There we go. Yes.
But to your point, it's true. Like I had chronic migraines for a really long time. I was very, very sick to the point where I was considering trying to apply for disability because I'm talking a 6-month migraine one. Like they weren't ending. And I tried everything. And the thing that really felt harmful to me was people were like, but did you try to drink some more water? Are you taking some Himalayan salt? Like, and I was like, you've got, like, what I understood is that people that are suffering are often the experts in their own suffering. And they're the ones that are up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., Googling everything under the sun. So when people toss off these like easy recommendations, it has less to do with the person suffering and has to do with the person giving the advice is uncomfortable by the powerlessness of holding that space.
Yeah.
So then they deploy this like, well, can we try that? Because it's about easing them. And that really disempowers and dissociates the suffering person from the net of care. And I think for me, I would have probably done that until I was chronically ill and had that insight. And it really revolutionized the way I want to show up for people. And of course I give advice. Like, it's not like, well, what do you think about it? But it's also about doing more listening. What have you tried? Or what's your story? What's your walk been like? Before we say anything, and then asking, would you like some advice? Really keeping that person who's in so much pain, not also taking their power from them too. Keeping it focused on them. That's so incredibly important.
I'm getting educated here.
Oh.
I'm getting schooled. No, because I think we all have certain people in our lives, and I have certain people in my lives who are suffering, and of course I want the best for them. Of course I want them to be eased in their suffering. Of course I want all of these things for them. But the first part of it is it's not my job to make it different than it is for that person. At the same time, I want to show compassion. I want to be there.
Yeah.
And if something comes through that I feel might be helpful, that if they're willing and open, that I can convey that to them. But it's a delicate balance, right?
It is.
So being able to be within myself and say, am I saying this because I'm uneasy myself? And I want this to resolve because this kind of dissonant energy, I feel it and I want it to resolve,
Right. Exactly. Consent is so important. It's so important, especially as an intuitive, because I get messages. I try to shut it down if I'm not in that space, because I find it really icky. The whole like, oh, the psychic came up to me in the grocery store and just told me this stuff. And I'm just like, there's a lot of not consent happening here. Like, I don't want to go looking where I don't have permission to look. And people that do this work don't often realize how their words have tremendous impact in people for their lives. Like, I've had people come to me because a reader said something 30, 40 years ago that still stayed with them. It's a tremendous responsibility.
That's really a good reminder that when people come and they're searching and they come specifically to a person for insight,
Yeah.
that there is a certain amount of responsibility and accountability, because sometimes they take those things with them as medicine for years and years and years.
Yeah. It's so true. So true. And
Wow.
then you have the whole thing of our defenses, our psychological defenses, and
Hmm.
people may instantly twist what you said the moment you said it because they have a part that doesn't want to hear that. Like, it gets so crazy complicated. It
It
really
does. It does. There's a lot that goes on. I'm
is.
feeling like we get to jump in now, though, and do
Yeah.
something fun. And I know you've got a beautiful. We've got technology here, people. So I thought it would be really fun to do
Mhm.
some kind of a reading. Now you showed me some things you do with charms and with
Mhm.
tarot. I what how would you like to open? Would you like to open with just something surrounding tarot for
Mm,
people, or how would you like to? I'm kind of handing over the reins and letting
yeah.
you jump in and feel how you want to play.
Well, I do kind of want to talk a little bit about. Actually, you know what? I have something I want to grab really quick. I'm sorry. Let me grab it real quick.
No
Um,
worries. Doom da dum da dum da dum. I'm gonna offer us background music. Oh no 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 no
oh, sorry.
no.
No, they're not there. I had something that I wanted to use, and now I can't find it. Anyways, but with tarot, I think a lot of people are traditionally taught. So how people are traditionally taught is pull a card, memorize the keywords that go to that card, and then spit out a reading based off of some spread. And that's very technical and that's very formulaic. And I'm seeing more and more kind of readers do that.
Mhm.
But we're really cutting off that beautiful first sight, that first intuition, when we immediately run to the keyword because we're like, I don't know what that means. So
Mm.
yeah, you can come back. I'm gonna put some cards out and then we're gonna.
Okay,
So
excellent.
so what I would want to offer is really looking at an image and seeing like where your eye goes,
Mhm.
and before you're trying to physically like with words decipher the meaning. So
Okay.
we take one card, right?
So this is a key tip, everyone.
Yeah. So
Key tip
and
number one.
let's say we have a question. What would be a good question that all of us could maybe think about? How's the summer going to go? Is it going to be super hot? Is it going to be super? Is all of the storms and stuff like, or is it going to calm down right through June, July, and August? And
Mhm.
so we have the card here. But what I would say for people is look, notice where your eye goes. Where does your eye land on the image? And
Mhm.
ask your intuition or ask your guides, why did my eye go here? Why are you showing me this symbol at this time?
Mm. Okay.
And so here we have an image,
Ooh, wow.
and the first thing, and I already got what I needed, and it can happen very fast. So if you're like straining for it, it's usually not it. It's usually like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
So for me, the first thing I saw as I turned over the image was her hair whipped back.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's gonna be a kind of a wild ride. There's gonna be a lot of storms, a lot of tornadoes, a lot of hurricanes. I'm just seeing a lot of wind. And so also we see like the skull and then the thing that there could be damage and regret. So that was just that first hit I got that told me that answer,
Yeah.
even though none of that has to do with the traditional keywords of this card.
Yeah.
But if we're panicky going, oh my God, what card is that? Then we actually are cutting short that beautiful first sight that's so fast and automatic.
Yeah.
Did
That's
anything
beautiful.
Did anything come for you with this?
Well, the first thing that I saw was the hands to the face and the hair pulling back and the skull, the face, the skeleton. And so for me, uh, a lot of for me it was like a lot of shifting, a lot of surprise, a lot of shock
Mhm.
um occurring, and then my eyes went down to the swords on the bed tilting downward,
Yeah.
like that was the arrow, it was like arrows, pointing down. So to me it feels like a it's a rough ride, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah.
lot of a lot of shifting, and a lot of it feels almost like the earth is really making an emphatic statement or something.
Yeah. 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 I think that if people have learned tarot in a more traditional way, it's
Mhm.
very hard to get them to do this because they've been trained in the right side of the brain. Now, the technique I was going to show you, but I couldn't find the thing that I have, but I can do it close enough. So, how do I
Okay.
teach people to stop doing the keywords? So sometimes I'll take like a piece of paper, like over the card, like this. But
Mhm.
then, let's say I take the paper and I cut a shape out of the paper.
Oh, okay.
And then I lay, and it can look like this, or there can be a circle in the middle, or however you want to cut out the paper.
Uh-huh.
And then you lay it like over the image. So that forces you to only use that part to tell the fortune.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, right. And it forces you to really focus on the imagery. And this insight came to me because years ago, I was hired by Macy's to do readings for a clothing line launch. So I
Mm.
was in the middle of Macy's, giving readings to people. And this young woman came up and she said, I want to know about my boyfriend, or like, I need to know. So the question she said was kind of like, I knew I wasn't getting the full story.
Yeah.
The deck I used um, pulled a card, and in the card showed an animal, but the animal had a manacle, like he was chained to the ground. And
Mm.
I never noticed that chain before in the card. So then I was like, what are you telling me? And I was like, oh my God, he's in jail. And so
Mm.
I asked her, what's his condition? Because I'm at Macy's. I can't and she's like, oh yeah, he's incarcerated. So that's what really got me looking and being like, you've got to notice the first sight. Like where does your eye go? And then
Wow.
you're asking, why am I being drawn to this one symbol in this image when normally I may not? You
Yeah.
want to do another one?
Yes, let's keep on going.
So, do you have a question that you would like?
Yeah, let's see if I can delicately. Oh, public eye. Let's see. Um, I have a question about work and stability for myself, and being able to establish a path that feels nourishing, but also is bringing in good income for myself. Um, Maybe it has to do with maybe the timeline on that. Maybe it has to do with
Mhm.
how I get to focus, or where I get to focus in order for that to come more into fruition.
It's a huge question.
It
So
is.
let's pull one piece out of that for the one card so it can be really, really really clear.
Yeah.
Um, so here's like what can I immediately do or not do to get me to um, being able to offer my gifts and also make a living, like just like what's one.
Yes. Love that. Love that. See, Jenna, a great card reader will help us hone in our questions. I have vast questions often.
I feel like that's half the work. Like Albert Einstein had a really good quote that said, if you give me 60 minutes to solve a problem, I'm going to spend 59 minutes getting to the right question that will then solve the problem.
Nice.
And so I feel like that's half the work is on the logical level, trying to try to pull apart, and then let spirit come in after that. So,
I love
all right. So here's the card.
Perfect. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Ooh, I felt a hit to my third eye. It just went like it just kind of illuminated. If that makes any sense, that was
Yeah.
fun.
Would you like to say anything, or would you like me to start?
I would love to hear you and what you see, because yeah, this is
Mhm.
a really interesting. I love that this is a cool card.
Yeah, yeah. So the first thing I noticed was the hand around the chalice.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing I noticed was the hand around the fish.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what is this about? And I feel like the one tip is to balance your life a little more intentionally in terms of your time management. That's the first one. And then the second one I got was really getting clear on offerings that you need to be compensated for, and also things you want to give as gifts. And really going, how much of this do I need to, like, well, when you look at it, I look at like that fish, loaves of fishes. This is like the resources in hand, but also the chalice is what you're giving to others. And that there needs to be a balance here between the two, which would suggest to me it's something that either you've been working on, or something that has been maybe a challenge area for you in the past around your services and offerings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, that is the ultimate question for me. Yeah, yeah, beautiful.
And then King of Cups is really, I mean, if we want to move into more of the key words of the understanding of the card, like that is one of the traditional jobs of King of Cups is the chaplain. You know, like they work in spiritual worlds, the shaman, they are holding space for people. But for here, I see it's a balance of what you are asking for from others in terms of money, so you can pay rent or food and all that kind of stuff, and also how you want to give outside of that. That's really the big piece that comes up for me as I immediately looked at that card.
Okay. Yeah, that's a consideration for me, because I feel like I earn my money in a certain way, but and when I do it, it's good and it helps me. But at the same time, it's like I want the two of what I'm offering, and in my deep desires, to be also the same thing. And so I'm trying to figure that out,
Yes.
how they come together.
Yeah.
But
That's
maybe, but is, I mean, looking at this, is it saying it's okay for them to be separate?
no, because the question was like, what should I be doing, right? Like, what's the tip? And the tip is, this is too separate.
They
That there
are
needs to
separate.
be an integration here that
So
feels
there should be
a
an
little more,
integration. Yeah.
feels a little more healthy, or has flow for you.
Okay. Perfect. Nice.
Yeah. So that's like one of the things that I think is helpful for people, is just look and see, and then listen. Is you look at that image may spark an image within you, or a knowing, or just like, oh, I think I know what this is talking about. But the problem is sometimes trusting that.
Yeah, one thing, Jenna, that I'm seeing, and what's coming up is below is the faces of the man and the woman staring at each other. And I feel like there's another piece there. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, my first intuition was like, oh, I need to work in coordination with the masculine or with another person. But then I don't know. I'm not sure what you got, what that symbolizes.
That's what I got. Like that's what you got. So you got to interpret that. But what I got was this.
Yeah. So I think maybe in my life there is another question surrounding that below.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, possibly. Or it even could be like the people that you serve,
Okay. Yeah.
right? Because the man and the woman are seated as a on the robe of the king,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know, like artwork of the robe or a window,
Hmm.
and the king is holding space for that. So it could also mean the people that you're serving and
Yeah.
what you're serving them towards. And we see two smiling faces looking at each other, and
Yeah.
we have water, which is emotions and feelings and just depth. So,
Mm.
but that wasn't where my like initial hit went. So,
Yeah.
but
No.
this is why I'm careful with the questions, because I never want to accidentally like predict more than may be there, because it just makes sense to me. Like
Yeah.
if it's not that initial hit, then I'm careful with it.
Yeah.
So, because sometimes speculation will take us down the wrong path, but it's hard to always catch. I
Yeah.
have to watch it all the time.
Hmm. Cool. Well,
Yeah.
this is beautiful. Um, you were talking about using charms and different things like that. I
Yeah.
was curious as to how that, that interacts with the experience or what you do with the charms.
Sure. So another thing I love is overlaying charms over readings, just to get like another layer of meaning. So if we had another question, let's do something that everyone might know about. Like, what is going on right now? Oh, did you know they just found ice on Mars? Liquid
What was
ice, like
wit?
water ice, yeah, on Mars.
Wow. Okay.
So maybe we can ask, what does this mean for humanity in the short term? Like, what does this unlock? What does this mean? And then
Mm-hmm.
we'll just pull one. Oh, it's so funny. Another king.
Wow. Oh boy.
And just watching where your eye goes and not like forcing it. Do you have anything that's coming to you?
Well, the first thing that I saw was the word stabe,
Ah, staff.
and it
Mhm.
jumped out at me. And then I came up to the iguana that was tucked right into the arm of the king.
Yeah.
Um, that naturally flowed up to the top if I did it. But yeah, those were kind of
Mhm.
the three. They were like boom, boom. And the main one though was focused on the iguana tucked into the arm of the king. That's what
Yeah.
first hit me.
And what did that spark within you? Did that give you any information or messages?
Um, I, I didn't know what stabe meant. I almost read it as stable or stability or staff.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, and this feeling of life and the kind of anthropomorphic nature of life, and how it follows a certain line, and
Mhm.
it's like we can decode and decipher from that line that it follows. So that
Mhm.
that was kind of my initial feeling of it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting that your eye started at the bottom and then went up, like kind of in the up and almost a little like diagonal direction.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think there's some importance in that in some way. Like that's where you
Interesting.
went up, you went down and started up.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. I also, so I don't, it might be an iguana in this deck. Traditionally, these are salamanders in tarot.
Salamanders. Yeah, I wasn't sure
But,
what it was.
and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's, they look like iguanas and lizards. But yeah, I was looking at, honestly, like the feet of the salamanders
Mm.
in all three. And
Hmm.
the thing that hit me was like, they're going to be crawling all over that planet, i.e., humans. We're going to be all
Oh, is that
over. Right?
right? There you go.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the first thing that came.
Cool.
And interestingly, King of Wands is the card of the entrepreneur. So I'm like, please no Elon Musk. Like, can we not have him just go and own Mars? Like, that'd be great. Thanks. But we can add charms over this, right? So
Yeah, I'd love that, because I mean, really looking at it, how you ask a question and what you're focused on makes the whole difference. So when I asked that question, I was thinking of kind of more of in humanity, kind of what is the sign of, whatever the death in humanity. And you were more thinking in practical terms, and so really how we ask these questions can make a huge difference in what we see and the information that we glean, I think.
Right. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier, that like when we're working with someone, really getting clear on what they actually mean.
Yeah.
Because that is exactly kind of a trap, because I've had that where people are like, well, I just want to know just whatever. Like, and then they're talking in very high level language that makes me think, oh, they're really wanting a more spiritual, archetypal. But actually they didn't want any of that at all. They wanted like the mundane. And so trying to determine where on the line of consciousness are they sitting as they're asking these questions is really helpful for how we speak the perspective that comes through.
Yeah.
But I think they're both true.
Yes.
They're both true.
Yeah.
So we can also, so these are my charms. There's probably like, I don't know, like over maybe 200 to 300. And I love this because for me, it's such a randomized thing and it feels really spiritual. Like there's a lot of entities getting in to like influence what's being cast and where. And I use it for mediumship really successfully. So
I'm excited. I'm excited about these charms.
So let's see here. So it's harder to tell in the camera, but here's what we have. So we have a spider coming into the image. We have a hatchet leaving the image. We have a bell. We have a butterfly. And we have a crown.
Wow.
So I think there's a lot being said here. And I look at the charms as the charm is interacting with the images. So for example, we have the spider here being, and then this is kind of like a lion spitting fire. So the lion is spitting fire towards the spider. So I see that as just a lot of jockeying for access or control. This is really interesting to me. The crown. So it's hard to tell because it looks 2D to you guys, but it's just a little crown. It's a little cute little crown.
Yeah.
And then we have the butterfly like flowing this way where the king is looking. So some of the top of the fields of innovation and innovative minds, and it is going to usher in a very fascinating time of discovery and invention. Because for me, butterflies are ideas and insight and like, oh my God, like, oh, I've invented this thing, and it's the crown of it. So this is necessitating that. Interesting that the king is looking right at the hatchet, but the hatchet is swinging away. So it's like this feeling of wanting to cut away in front of his path, right? Like swinging away, whatever it is, like obstacles to allow this innovation to occur. And then finally, you have the bell. So for me, bell is like spirit saying, pay attention. This is important. Like bring your attention here. And it's on kind of the edge of the salamander, but it's also like it's laying on its side. And that means for me that there needs to be a message around really, how do I word this? Sometimes I have a hard time putting things into words, what I see, but everyone has to keep their eyes on what happens there and not like and not let things go off the rail or be taken for bad energy or bad intention before everyone notices what happens. Like
Yeah.
there's a sense of like, don't lose the alarm. The alarm is important. Keep it functioning, keep it upright.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you can do that. And then there's also, I know we don't have a ton of time left, but we
Well,
talked briefly.
I loved how you described each one of those.
Yeah.
Because like what was coming through to me was similar, but it was just said slightly differently. And it's so interesting because people, I think, find maybe when they start working with someone, they find someone with a language that sometimes feels familiar to them, or they,
Mm.
they start listening in and they hear the language of the reader. And I think it's so interesting. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like we are all, there are a lot of hairdressers out there, but you find yours.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
it. So who might have synergy with me may not with you, and vice versa. And that's perfect. That's what that's
I
what we
love
want.
Yeah.
It's about that. But I wanted to show this because I know you liked this a lot. So I wanted to.
Yes. I was like, oh, this looks so cool.
So I do this a lot for clients. Like if we're looking for something very, very general, we don't have questions, or mediumship, because it's a wheel of the astrological year, right?
Mhm.
So we start off with Aries and then I'll go all the way to Pisces. And then I'll just cast charms over it.
Perfect.
To give us a sense of what are some energies in play, what are things to kind of keep in mind, what's going on. So I'll just do a little bit of that.
Perfect. Perfect.
So I often will see, like, if charms have fallen off the circle, it's kind of like things that they're not like immediately influential, but they're on their way in maybe the next year.
Wow. How
So
cool.
let me pull in. So here we have what fell. So we have a bunch of stuff in the house of Libra, the house of Scorpio. We have some in the middle. And then we have some in the house of Aquarius and Pisces. Wow, it's all the spiritual houses. Nothing fell in like Taurus, which is like resources, like home and family, all spiritual.
Yeah.
Even it skipped mostly the 10th house, which is work. So it's all about this line of spirituality. So
Wow.
even just looking at that would say, okay, this is the focus of the message. Like we're not talking about the mundane, right? It's like that higher level stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So then you'd have, partners. Yeah, partners is there. So cosmic +1 partnerships. We have the Canon and we have the Swallow.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the Canon is another like boom, pay attention. Like boom, there's something that's going to call your attention to what's going on in this partnership or relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the Swallow, but the Swallow is also touching the house of spirit, which is Scorpio. I feel like I mean, I didn't cast this for you per se. I don't want to like get your like.
But it is. It was cast for me.
But as an example, if this was somebody I was reading for, I'd be like, something's going on with your partner that may be subtle, and you really have to, if your intuition is telling you something is off, do not listen to them saying everything is fine.
Yeah.
There's a warning here for them and you that you've got to pay attention to, and it's going to come from an intuitive space, but it's going to be loud, clear, and undeniable. That's the Canon.
Yeah.
Then you have the helping hand. The message is of a helpful nature to that person in the partnership. It's also it's moving from higher truth to spirit to partners. So higher truth, this information is going to be really clarifying something that has been unclear for a while. And it's going to be like a lightning strike. Like, I know exactly what this is. I know what's going on here.
Oh,
and
cool.
the thing is a good thing, because we also have the Clover, which is, and this is a good thing that this happens. So That may be a way I'd read it. And then also you have in aspirations the house of Aquarius, you have the fish, and interestingly, the house of secrets, you have the little girl charm, but she's upside down. And then here you have the little smiley face. So secrets as a little girl, but this is also like the unconscious. So
Yeah.
this could be something like you're going to be getting more memories or dreams
Yes.
about your childhood,
Yeah.
possibly,
Yeah.
that are going to come up for you to work with. But it's nothing that you know right now because she's turned away. So I'd be like, this is something because a lot of people will go, oh, I think I know what this means. It means this. And then you'll say, no, it's something else because it's still hidden from us, but it's on its way.
Yeah.
And then you have aspirations and secrets, and whatever comes up in that unconscious place is going to be rich, rich resources towards how you want to show up in the world and how you want to give those resources. So it could be that as well. And then you have the smiley face upside down. So smiley face is usually like things are good, and things that are in the middle are kind of like pervasive themes. So it being upside down doesn't mean the opposite of it, but it's more like the thing that maybe you really want to feel very, very satisfied. It's not going to happen quite this year. It's on its way though.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the charm casting in a very brief little nutshell.
That was powerful. What is the charm that was just outside?
So that is the hand holding the cards. And I don't actually know. It's something on its way. It's not here yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Sometimes these are clear, sometimes they're not. It just really depends.
Nice. Well, I love that. That was powerful. I felt that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, I think there are a few people who are watching this who are like, I need to get in with Jenna.
Yeah. It's fun. Like I really enjoy what I do. I really enjoy what I do.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I am just now when you're done with a reading for someone, is there a typical way that you kind of end it, that you close up having your experience with someone? Because I feel like I just had a little experience with you, and we can kind of close up in that way. Do you have kind of a ceremony, or do you have something that you do to help kind of close it up, and then you know that your energy is yours and then theirs goes along their way and that kind of a thing?
Not with this kind of stuff. I do with my mediumship sessions though. Like there's a whole thing that I do to open and close. But for me, the closer is, do you have any questions? Thank you for your time. Maybe a hug, but no, with this kind of stuff, I do stuff for myself professionally and in the space that I'm in.
Yeah.
But it's not something I do each time necessarily unless it feels like it warrants it.
Yeah. Yeah. To have that experience. Oh, that's so beautiful.
It's like, are you okay? Like, are we good? Do you understand? Like, is there anything else I can help with? And so that's what I do, because I'll typically have clients back to back. There's just no way I could do that. But sometimes if I feel they need it, I'll do it. I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place.
Yeah. It's really cool. Just to share with people what I'm feeling is during the experience, and especially with the charms, there are moments when it was just almost like my third eye was just like, boom, there's this light, and it started kind of to spread, as certain things were being illuminated. And a part of that comes from, of course, me being really open and me really wanting to connect in perhaps with the energy, what's being picked up, what's being felt. And like you talked about the little girl, and maybe there will be memories that come in and things like that. It's like, I'm kind of feeling into that energy. Okay. Yeah. I feel that there is something there. I'm feeling that, things that I've been trying to reach for will be coming through. I will have further understanding. And so it's really, really cool to feel that during the process of the experience. So If anyone here has any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. And my question to you, all of you people who are listening, have you gone to a tarot reader before? And what was your experience? Did you like it? Was it a yes or was it a no?
Mhm.
Was it kind of did it end up feeling like or did you feel positive? So I'm kind of interested in hearing your experiences coming into tarot reading. And I just want everyone to make sure to check out Jenna's book. Jenna, hold up that book for us again.
Oh, yes, you're reading.
Will you give me a reading? So, Jenna, thank you so much for being here with us, and welcome to Channeling. I am so glad and so proud that you are my first live streaming guest. We're having fun here. And I just hope you have a beautiful day and wish you the best wishes in your career. I feel like it's blossoming. There's more and more coming through to you, and you're going to just share so much with the world. And Jenna, can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Yes. My name mostly, jennamatlin.com is my website. I'm on Instagram as Jenna Matlin. I'm on TikTok as Jenna Matlin. I'm on YouTube as Jenna Matlin. I'm pretty easy to find. And however you want to connect, if you need a session, if you want to buy a book, if you want to take a class. Oh yeah, I have a class that I'm launching in August called Spectral Reader. And it is a mediumship course for tarot readers, specifically from their perspective and their lens. And so that starts August 1st. I'm really excited about it. I've got a lot of people already signed up and we're going to play. So thank you so much for having me on and playing with you. This has just been wonderful. So what a wonderful way to spend the morning.
I know. Thank you so much once again. And I look forward to continuing keeping in contact and watching what you're doing just blossom and bloom. And thank you for all the guides who've been here. Normally I end with a reading or a channeling, but we've already done that. You did it for me. Just in a bright and vibrant and different ways. So I thank all the guides who've been here, all you are here. And I usually end with this beautiful saying, everyone just own your stage and play on. All right. Bye, everyone. We're going to end the stream. Sending love to everyone.
Bye.